So I broke down today's class into two separate presentations. One's covering the basics of Google Dorking. So anybody ever hear what Google Dorking is? What's Google Dorking?
I think it's just using the Google web page to get to know more about an organization.
That's correct. It's using Google to do a more specific search, because what Google has is it has their own algorithms, which they rank pages. And sometimes you might just get a bunch of ads or pages that aren't really relevant to what you're searching for. And so Google Dorking is just Google hacking or advanced searching with Google. Depends on how you want to look at it. Okay, Google Dorking. We just talked a little bit about what it is. Google Dorking is not case sensitive, and you can use quotes to try and find a string or paraphrase. Like if you're looking up Raleigh ISSA, you could use quotes to make sure that the space is included within Raleigh ISSA. Google Search, like many other tools, uses Boolean operators. The nice thing about Google searching is you can choose to either use letters, like and, all capital letters, or you could use the plus sign. Same with the or, capital OR, or a pipe sign to find it. So if I want to find Raleigh ISSA or ISSA International, I could write OR or use the pipe in there. And the example is down here, so you can see security, not physical, and cyber, or InfoSec. So what that's going to give me is that should give me a search for cybersecurity things possibly containing InfoSec, but it's not going to give me the physical security, because if I just type security, I might get fences and guards and all this other stuff. But really, you know, as somebody in the InfoSec community, I want to learn more about the cyber than necessarily the physical. Physical is good because you have to understand that, and depending on your role, that might be what you're looking for. So here we search by domains. Throughout this slideshow, you'll see a lot of times I reference Cartech Consulting. Cartech Consulting is a company owned by Devon Carter, the conference director of Raleigh ISSA, and he gave me permission to use this company for the testing of this. Whenever you're doing any kind of testing, even if it's passive or active, you want to make sure you have permission. It's kind of like a get out of jail free card in case something goes wrong. So he gave me permission to use his site. And here you can see we use the cite operator. It's cite : no spaces. A big mistake a lot of people make when they're first learning how to Google Dork is you would think you would put a space there. And sometimes it looks like there might be a space just because of the way the letters are, but it has to be together, cite Cartech Consulting, and that'll come up with different sites. And every listing is going to actually have Cartech Consulting. So if you have a site that you're interested in, maybe you're doing some homework and you're researching something, you could use that site, cisco.com, and pull up everything from Cisco, and that might help you in your research. So, searching files. File types can help you prepare for presentations. If you're looking for PDFs or PowerPoints, you can use even Excel documents or text files or CSVs or things you might look for when you're doing reconnaissance. And over here, you can see I still have the site Cartech Consulting, and I also have file type PDF. So with that file type, that's telling me that I want Cartech Consulting. I want to see all PDFs from Cartech Consulting, and so Google's only going to give me those results. Searching in titles. You might want to search the title of a web page. That's not the URL or the body of it, it's just the title. And I might want to do this to find backup files or other sites that might contain sensitive information, PII, account numbers, credit card numbers, stuff like that. And so I might use the title search to help me find stuff. In this example, you can see I used index of and backup files. So I'm trying to find out where his backup files are located. I couldn't actually find his backup files, which were very good for him. But me as a tester, I might want to find somebody's backup files because those are oftentimes less secure and contain valuable information for me. Searching within the URLs. That's another good way to find sensitive information. Do I want to find the admin page? Of course I want to get to your admin page. Once I get to your admin page, I might be able to try out some passwords, usernames and passwords. So with this, I used in URL admin. Again, I didn't get to his admin page, so if you're looking for, sorry, you won't get to his admin page off this. But you want to make sure, and here InURL allows you to search for strings within the address of the web page. Index.php, log files, you can see on the very bottom that we search for log files and index files. And those will help you find sensitive information also. And when you're really looking for stuff, in the URL, you're limited to the fields that you're going to find. Like you might have to use admin or backup or something. But you can actually go for a more in-depth search if you're looking within the text body. Like if I'm looking for something specific, maybe it's a very hard thing to find, right? But it's inside the text of some document. It might not be in the title. It might not be in the URL. So that's when I would go to the text document. I've exhausted both those. Now I'll go to my in-text, and I'll search the text of the document for the key term that I'm looking for. And in these ones, you can see I was looking for passwords and passcodes. Oh, here's my mouse. I got passwords and passcodes in text. So I'm hoping that somebody didn't do their due diligence and uploaded a document to the internet that has passwords and passcodes. And that doesn't restrict me to any sort of file type, such as Excel or Word or something along those lines. Now if I want to, now I've done the basics, right? I've learned how to do InURL, in-text, stuff like that. Now I want to get to more complex searches. I can start combining all of these searches together. And over here you can see I have in-text, passcode, or password. And then I also have in-text, user ID, or username. So that's telling me that, that's telling Google that I'm like, hey Google, find documents that have a username or a user ID and they have a passcode or a password. So I want to find a list of usernames and passwords. That's what that's telling Google. And so the complex searches help me find that and give me a higher accuracy, a higher probability that the document that I open is actually going to have something that I'm looking for. Cached pages. Anybody know what cached pages are? Anybody ever use like the Wayback Machine? Google? Yep. If you look on here, it says webcache.googlecontent.com. But if I look down here, I see CarTech Consulting. Do you think if CarTech Consulting is logging the traffic to their website, are they going to see me looking at this cached page? Right. They're not going to see me because this is a Google hosted web page. So if I really am the bad guy or I'm pretending to be the bad guy and I'm looking up information and I want to find out as much information as possible, I can go to this cached page and nobody ever knows I was there. There's not a trace of me being there because it's on Google. And they're not going to go check Google. Also, if a company were to accidentally upload some sort of sensitive document, PII, account number, something like that, and they take it down from their web page, it still might be in the cached files. So I still might be able to find my objective, even if the company removed it. And that's what this page talks about. Google Cached Banner tells the viewer when the page was captured and may contain other clues. So here you can see the banner, and this one was from December 10th, 2017. This one I pulled this slide. I actually pulled the cache page in 2018. So you can actually see how old the page is. Now on your own, I know I don't see a lot of laptops in here, but if you wanted to actually capture the data that you're sending across, you could open up PowerShell, and if you have Wireshark or T-Shark installed, you can actually capture your data. And I have the commands here. So if you're on your computer, you just you navigate to Wireshark. If you're on Windows, C Program Files, Wireshark. Once you're in there, you can type this command right here, and the -D gives me my interfaces. So I accidentally cut off the interface that we want on the bottom here, but you can see on the second command to capture it, I'm saying use -I for interface 6. So that's my 6th interface. And if I want to save the traffic, then I'll just add a -W for write, and I'll say the location. And it'll capture it and it'll save it to a file. And then I can go back later and take a look and see what I saw. So one of the nice things about actually using the command line for a Wireshark is depending on your company, they might have security controls in place that would block you from actually opening up the Wireshark GUI and hitting start. But oftentimes they miss the command line. So you can bypass the security controls a lot of times. Not always, but sometimes. It's definitely a good thing to know. Directories. Directories are your friend. Directories contain files, folders, and best of all, sensitive data. Many directories contain the word index of, and here you can just see a screenshot of a site I found that had the word index of. And you can see they have FTP. That's going to tell me where their plain text logins are, right? I can probably just connect to their sites. Multimedia, compression, so maybe they have some multimedia information that might release some information that's important about their company. Here you can refine your search. Down here at the bottom, you can see parent directory. That's a good one. Parent directories are very good. Index, different variations of index.of, in-title index.of, file type log. In URL software might tell us what's going on, what they have. So transversing directories is one of the easiest things to kind of find hidden files, because sometimes companies will disable something via the search and you'll want to search it, but you can't get to it just by the ordinary search. So by transversing directories, you might be able to find that hidden gem. Up at the top, you can see all these slashes, about us, why we are here. And if you look down on the web page, about us, why we are here, right? That's a page within there. And so after I go to the why we are here page, I just go back to the slash, I delete it, and it'll take me back to the about us page. And I can do that the same with the Cartech Consulting and bring it back. And so those are different ways that you can use to actually transverse the directories. Now we have directory blocking. Changing the URL to find more information. So I can delete whatever's there. So here you can see I have downloads, right? I can delete that and add anything else that I want. I can try backup or doc or just common terms. Like I have a list of terms when I'm searching for something that I'll go through there, and I'll just try all these common, because most likely if I'm gonna find something, I'm gonna find something with those terms. And I'll just replace them once I get in there. Incremental substitution. In URL 1, replacing numbers. That is the easiest way to actually find the hidden directories, because when you just upload to a lot of different sites, if you don't specify the name, it's just going to put a number. Here you can see Cartech Consulting blog 1005, right? I can change that to 1006, 1007, 1008. After this test, Devon actually went in and changed that, so you can no longer directory walk. Even though all his items are for educational purposes, they now actually say what they are. And other companies, it could be detrimental to them, whatever you find within the numbers. Database digging. So maybe I'm looking for a database, looking for that social security number, the birthdays. I might find login portals, support files, error messages. Why are error messages important? Anybody?
It'll tell you what database is being used and even the version possibly.
Right, it might tell you the database that's being used and what version. Another thing is if you have a logon page and it says your password is incorrect, what does that tell you? The username is correct. I'm halfway there. I already have the username. I just got to figure out what the password is. So now I know what system it is. I can look up the vulnerabilities, and I know I have a username. So error messages are great. Something else to look for, configuration files. Anybody ever play with configuration files? You ever save them to a shared drive and they have everything already input for you, including your passwords? They might map your network. They might have your passwords. Log files and database dumps are another benefit. Another search terms you can use, login, welcome, copyright, dumping the data for table. Those will also give you, more than likely give you databases. Now we have a focused search. Configuration files. So we talked just briefly about configuration files. So you can search config, conf, CFG, and here you can see if we look down here, we have all kinds of information, IP addresses. It tells us all about the network, what's going on. You might find SNMP passwords, you name it, it might be in there. And when you're looking for config files, some helpful extensions are the config, CFG, INI, text. Those are helpful extensions that you can use for your complex searches. Log files. Log files are another great one because they just kind of record everything. And so if you want to find out who's in there or how often people are in there, what they're doing, what the server's for, you might be able to find that information from the log files. And examples are file type log. You can use extension log, in-URL log, and there's all kinds of different log managers that just make logs nice and pretty for you. Office documents. Office documents are files created by software, such as word processor, spreadsheets, software products. And a lot of times they contain usernames, passwords, backups, sensitive information. Employees might not realize your DLP practices, right? So they're like, oh yeah, I just have this, let me send it to myself. And maybe they put it on some sort of share drive and then they accidentally upload it, or they're like, oh yeah, this is my site. If I put it on here, I can load it to the internet and then I can access it from home. Anybody ever see that? Employees do that? So that's a possibility, and that might have sensitive information. I call this the deep sea because we're going fishing. And so this part of the presentation isn't necessarily all about how to Google Dork. It's kind of the processes and some other things that will help you along your way when you're doing Google Dorking to help you do your recon. So defining searches. So the deep sea, define what were you originally looking for? Expand. How can we be more precise? Extract. We're going to pull the data from the sources that we found. To parse is to analyze, and to conclude is to determine what does all this data mean. So when you're defining, anybody ever heard of SMART goals? So SMART, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Specific. Our goal for this class was to search the website. So I searched Car Tech Consulting. Measurable. The presentation uses information on Google to help others succeed. Attainable. Can you complete your goal? If you're seeing this slide, my goal was achieved. Relevant. Part of ethical hacking is understanding passive reconnaissance. And time-bound. I gave myself 2 days to complete the searching of Car Tech Consulting for this presentation. So now we want to expand. We want to expand our results by manipulating the search command. So what was your specific goal? How many different ways can you search for the material that you're hunting for? So let's take yourself, right? Think of your name. How many ways can you search your name? So Christy Long was my maiden name. And so here you can see a few of the ways that you can just search for me, right? C Long, Christy Long, Long Christy, Long comma Christy, Christy L Long. There's all these different ways. And if I want to be more specific, I can search for a town or a sport or an organization. Here I put Raleigh because I'm with Raleigh ISSA. So you can search for people, you can narrow down, like maybe you have a renter or a potential renter and you want to find out if they're a good candidate, right? Use this search on your potential candidate. Maybe you have an applicant that you're interested in learning about, are they a good fit for my team before you even bring them in? Okay, well, do a Google search on them. Find out about what they do, what they like. Phone numbers. I use the phone number 867-5309. It's a common phone number. So if you guys wanted to use one that's good for searching, feel free to do this. You'll get lots of hits. But if you look on the left side of the presentation here, there are hundreds of ways to write, well, maybe not hundreds, but there are a lot of ways to write phone numbers. You can use parentheses, you can use area codes, you can use country codes, you can drop the zeros, you can leave the zeros, you can use hyphens, spaces, periods. Phone numbers come in all kinds of flavors, and they actually take a long time to search. So if you're searching for a specific phone number, but with these different examples, you should be able to find something on a phone number. And same with email addresses. The @ sign, you have @ symbol, _@ _ hyphen @ hyphen. There's a lot of different ways. You can add, remove this, add. You can combine them all. So email addresses, like phone numbers, have a lot of variety in how you can search for them. Top-level domains. So top-level domains are the domains that you'll see like gov and org, net, .com. We can use those to search for things. So here you can see in my example, I did a .gov site. So I did www *gov file type XLS. So somebody tell me, what am I looking for there? Spreadsheets on a .gov website. Yeah, exactly. That's how simple it is to look for things. So now we want to extract the data. We know it's there. We see that there's lots of data there. So we learned about the Boolean searches and how you can use the file types and the in URLs and things like that. But when I look at the URL, I don't always see those searches that I put into the Google search bar. And so this here is actually a copy of a URL that you'll search. So Google has its own language. So when you type in those commands, Google's going to translate it into Google's command. So if you look at this ASEQ, don't include these words. If you see that in the search string, it means that you said, I don't want to include this. So earlier we had a not physical security. So you would see ASEQ physical, and that would be within the URL that you see right there. And so Google just has its own language, and it's actually very confusing if you were to try and write the Google search string from their language. And sometimes within those strings, we might have to decode information. There might be pertinent information leading to an attack or other kind of stuff. One thing you might see is 1 equals 1. So in the world of SQL injections, 1 equals 1 is always true. So no matter what the result is, I want you to give me some sort of data back. And so sometimes you'll see that in the string. And if you put it into some sort of decoder, you'll find that 1% 3D1 actually equals 1 equals 1. And that might be hidden. And so you just have to sometimes just play with it and find out what might be hidden within your string. And these are some different software. You can go and click the links on ways to learn how to decode. And if you're going to Triangle InfoSecon in October, oh yeah, I got my shirt on. There's going to be a couple capture the flags there, and some of the stuff you'll have to do some decoding, and there is a $2,000 prize for that. But so decoding is important, and you will see it there. So when HTTP traffic is going across the internet, it has different ways of going. So we have what we call methods. So sometimes these methods are referred to as verbs. It's how the data travels. I'm going to show you the most popular one. So if you're looking at your Wireshark and you see post and get, the difference is a get is your normal sites. Like if I went to google.com, I can hit the star on my browser and save it to my favorites, right? A post, I can't save it to my favorites. And I don't want to be able to save a post to my favorites because posts contain stuff like credit card numbers, passwords, usernames. And if I hit the back button, it might resend my data. So I don't want to be able to save my post. So it's kind of the language and how the traffic is told to talk. So it's like, hey, if you're a get, I can save you. I can click on it. It's visible in the address bar. But if you're a post, I don't want to see any of that. I don't want people to have access to it because it contains, information I care about. User agent. You might see different user agents. And a user agent is just a string of text that acts on behalf of a user agent. So Google Chrome could be a user agent. Explorer could be a user agent. And yes, you can fake what device it's coming from. So here in this picture, you can see I could pretend to be an Android, but really be coming from my Windows 10 box or my Mac OS. So just the user agent just kind of tells you what kind of platform you're working on. So different tools. This is above and beyond the scope of this class, but extracting tools you can use. Burp, if you have a Kali Linux install, which is free, Burp is on there, the free version. Curl, you can use curl on your Windows machine. Netcat, wget, those are also things you can use to extract the information from the web. Now we want to parse the information. What do we really need? Parsing is having the ability to use the data returned from the extracting phase. So you saw I had my Wireshark running, right? Here's some of the data. Now I used a tool called Network Miner, just a simple download. It's a lightweight application. It returned 133 sets of credentials. All I had to do was wait for the PCAP to upload to Network Miner, and it told me this. You can see pictures, files, hosts. It was just captured. You don't mean to. It's just you're listening, and boom, there it is, right? So it's being able to pull out the information that's important to you. Boolean. We talked a little bit about Boolean and, not, or. We can also use parentheses. Search this first. So kind of like a math problem, you put it in parentheses, you search it first. Wildcard searches for anything. Search the exact phrases. Like if I want CISSP and security plus or versus security plus, I can put quotes around it. Regular expression. Anybody use regular expression? What do you guys use it for? What's that? Parsing data, right? So all kinds of different tools use some form of Reg-Ex. It might be a limited scale, or maybe it's a larger scale. And there's not a lot of good training sites. Regex1.com is one. There's Reg-Ex Golf, different sites that can help you. And when I got in the business, I didn't understand the importance of learning Reg-Ex. And it would have saved me so much time just having understood how Reg-Ex works. So I broke down a few of the common things that you might see with Reg-Ex. You can see the brackets, A, B, C. I want you to include things that include A, B, and C, apple, ball, and candy. Now on the next line, you can see A, B, C with Y on the outside. It's saying, hey, Y, you have to, it's not an or anymore. You have to have the Y. So now we have I, boy, cry. They all have Y, and they have A, B, and C. And then we have the caret, brackets, ABC. Says don't match anything but ABC. And some of the nice things are you can just do, like here you have character ranges, where I use the star on the left side. 1 to 3, that's going to say, give me any value that has 1, 2, and 3 in it, or A through C, that's going to give me anything with a letter A, B, or C. So now that we have the data, we have to process it. What makes it relevant, right? We have to know what we're looking for to make it relevant. Is there something specific that we need? And now that we have the data, what kind of metrics? Are we seeing any trends? Is there something that occurs often? And can we write any scripts to process the data? That will save you a lot of time also. At one point, I was looking for something with 9 digits. And my husband actually wrote me a script in like 2 seconds on searching for 9 digits. And I ran that in there, and boom, I had everything with 9 digits in it. It saved me hours. Conclusion. You want to compile the important data. Determine what meets your mission goals. Present your conclusion, because if you found this information, right, and you don't write a report, and you don't tell somebody about it, and you don't go to the people who made the mistake, why did you even conduct your test, right? So we want everybody to know your test. You might be bragging on yourself a little bit, or maybe not, but you want to make people aware of what you found and how they can fix it. You might not know how they can fix it, but you can say, hey, if you want to remediate this, you have to remove these from the web. You have to do this. You need to lock down your systems. Maybe don't allow that share file to connect directly to the internet. Those are different things that you can let them know. And in summary, we learned the deep C. So define. What were you originally looking for? Expand. How can we be more precise? Extract. We're going to pull the data from the sources. Parse. We want to analyze the data. And then conclude. Determine what does all this data mean. And here's some additional references you can use. And applications that we had in this presentation that you can download. And that's it.